Imagine you wake up one morning, you make a cup of tea, you turn on the news, but today the headlines are not what you expect. They are not about politics or sports or the weather. Instead, every channel, every website, every social media feed is buzzing with a single earth-shattering story. Scientists believe they have found something that changes everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. They think they have detected a signal, a message, a deliberate call from somewhere far beyond our tiny blue planet. We have always looked up at the stars and wondered, are we alone? For centuries, that question has been the domain of philosophers, poets, and dreamers. But in the modern age, it has become a serious scientific pursuit. We have built enormous telescopes, powerful computers, and sophisticated listening devices, all pointed towards the heavens. We have been patiently listening for a whisper in the cosmic static, a sign that someone else is out there, looking back at us and wondering the same thing. Imagine a researcher, let's call her Dr. Aris Thorne, working a late shift at a remote radio observatory. For hours, the patterns have been the same, the familiar random static of the cosmos. Suddenly, an alert flashes on one of her screens. Her heart begins to beat faster. Dr. Thorne's first instinct is not to call the president, but to follow a strict protocol of verification. The system has detected a signal that meets all the primary criteria for being extraterrestrial. It is narrowband, concentrated on a single frequency. She picks up the phone, not to the press, but to the director of a partner observatory on the other side of the world. "We have something," she says. "I need you to point your telescope at these coordinates, now." For decades, the international SETI community has quietly agreed upon a set of informal rules, often called the post-detection protocols. The first and most important rule is actually really simple: be absolutely sure. Now, a completely different team, using completely different equipment, thousands of miles away, will try to find the same thing. This is the ultimate check. This period of verification is, honestly, one of intense, secret activity. The small group of scientists involved would be sworn to secrecy. They'd work around the clock, fueled by adrenaline and the sheer magnitude of what they are doing. Every possible alternative explanation must be explored and ruled out. The burden of proof is immense. The observatory that made the initial detection must immediately contact the International Astronomical Union, or IAU. This isn't for permission, but just for notification. The protocols also suggest that relevant national authorities should be informed. The goal is to give leaders a heads up, so they aren't blindsided by the news when it eventually breaks. This small, expanding group of people now shares a world-changing secret. They carry on with their normal lives, all while knowing that human history is at a turning point. The core of the verification process is, in a way, a scientific detective story. Their main job is to eliminate every other possibility, no matter how remote. The team's first task is to check the signal against a comprehensive database of all known human-made satellites and their frequencies. To rule out more elusive earthly sources, scientists use the planet's own rotation as a tool. A signal coming from a fixed point in the sky will only be detectable for certain hours each day. The next suspect on the list is nature itself. The universe is just full of exotic objects that produce strange signals. Could this be a new type of pulsar with unusual characteristics? This is where analysis of the signal's structure becomes critical. The scientists would look for signs of modulation, a deliberate change in the signal's properties to carry information. With the evidence now overwhelming, the final stage of the pre-announcement protocol begins. The originating observatory, working closely with the IAU and other major scientific organizations, drafts a formal announcement. At the same time, world leaders receive a final, more detailed briefing, likely through organizations like the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs. The plan for the public announcement is meticulously orchestrated. It would involve simultaneous press conferences at major scientific institutions around the world. With a calm and steady voice, the lead astronomer begins to speak. They announce plainly and simply that we are not alone in the universe. In that instant, the secret is out. The world holds its breath, and well, everything changes. The moment the announcement is made, the world doesn't plunge into chaos. Instead, for a few precious hours, there's this profound, collective silence. It's the silence of sheer wonder. In quiet suburban homes, Families sit together on their sofas, glued to the unfolding news. For the first time, maybe ever, all of humanity is focused on a single event. People pour into the streets, not in panic, but in celebration. It's like a global holiday has been declared out of nowhere. Strangers hug each other, cheering the incredible news. We're all Earthlings, and we've just been welcomed into a galactic neighborhood we never even knew existed. This is the moment humanity looks up from its own reflection and finally sees its true place among the stars. Yet, alongside all this joy, a quiet undercurrent of fear begins to stir. While many celebrate, others look to the sky with a new sense of unease. The signal is coming from a civilization far older and more advanced than our own. What are their intentions? In the hours and days after the announcement, the global media machine just goes into overdrive, creating a storm of information and speculation like nothing the world has ever seen. News anchors, who just yesterday were talking about politics or the stock market, are suddenly hosting panels of experts. Astronomers, physicists, sociologists, philosophers. For every real scientist calmly explaining the data, there are a dozen pundits spinning wild theories. Some paint utopian visions, others stoke fears with dramatic recreations of alien invasions. Social media becomes the epicenter of the conversation, an unfiltered torrent of memes, theories, and raw emotion. But this digital space also becomes a breeding ground for misinformation. For religious communities around the globe, the discovery is a profound theological challenge. Some fundamentalist groups react with fear and condemnation, viewing the aliens as demonic or a sign of an impending apocalypse. Most mainstream religions, however, respond with a more considered and often welcoming tone. The Vatican's own astronomer might remind the world that the God of their understanding is not limited to one small planet. Meanwhile, in the halls of power, politicians scramble to formulate a coherent strategy. The initial response is a rare show of global unity. The United Nations Security Council holds an emergency session, but this political honeymoon is short-lived. Behind the scenes, old tensions resurface. The signal is not just a scientific curiosity, it is a source of potential power. With the world watching, debating, and speculating, the real work for scientists has only just begun. The task of deciphering the message is perhaps the greatest intellectual challenge humanity has ever faced. This is a message from a truly alien mind, a mind that evolved on a different world, with a different biology, and a different way of perceiving reality. Scientists would operate under one crucial assumption. The message is built on the only language we can be certain we share with the aliens, the language of mathematics and physics. The laws of nature are the same everywhere. The first breakthrough would likely be the discovery of a simple counting system, a sequence of pulses representing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From there it could build up to concepts like prime numbers or the value of pi. Once a mathematical language is established, the next great leap would be the transmission of images. The message might contain a long sequence of binary digits, zeros and ones. Slowly, painstakingly, as they fill in the grid, an image would begin to emerge from the static. The first picture would be simple and universal, perhaps a diagram of their solar system. The message could then build on this, sending more complex images, a diagram of their equivalent of DNA, revealing the basis of their biology, a map of their star, showing its chemical composition. Despite all these potential breakthroughs, the greatest challenge might remain insurmountable, understanding their philosophy, their culture, their emotions. This is the alien mind problem. Once the initial shock of discovery has passed and the work of decoding is underway, humanity faces its next great question. It's a question that splits opinion across the globe. Should we answer? We have listened, and we have heard a voice. Now do we speak back? Do we reveal our presence, our location, and our nature to the civilization that contacted us? On one side are the proponents of a reply, a group filled with optimists, explorers, and those who believe in the power of connection. They argue that remaining silent would be an act of cowardice and paranoia. On the other side are the cautious voices, the skeptics and pragmatists who urge extreme restraint. When a technologically superior civilization encounters a less advanced one, the outcome is almost always disastrous for the latter. This is the dark forest theory of the universe, The cosmos is a dark forest full of silent hunters, and the first rule of survival is to never reveal your location. This great debate rages in every home, every school, and every parliament. How do you weigh the potential extinction of your species against the potential for a golden age? Let us imagine that, after much debate, the world decides to reply. Who gets to write the message? This single message would be the most important document humanity has ever created. The first problem is content. Do we present an idealized version of ourselves, or do we present an honest picture showing both our capacity for great art and compassion, and our terrible potential for destruction? We would have to follow the lead of the aliens and use the universal language of mathematics and physics. Our message would likely be designed as a mirror of theirs. The committee might choose to include a vast library of our cultural achievements. We would have no way of knowing if the aliens could understand the meaning or emotion behind these works, but it would be an attempt to show them the products of our souls, not just our minds. Once the content of our reply is agreed upon, the final challenge is a technical one. How do we physically send it? We would use our largest and most powerful radio telescopes, focusing all their power into a single tight beam. The transmission itself would be a global event, a moment of profound significance watched by billions. As we press send, we are committing ourselves to a conversation that could span generations. The act of sending the message is an act of incredible patience. The original signal may have taken thousands of years to reach us. Our reply will take just as long to travel back. The people who send the message will never know if it was received. We would be starting a conversation on behalf of our distant descendants. It is the ultimate message in a bottle, thrown into the cosmic ocean. The arrival of a message from the stars would mark not an end, but a profound beginning. It would be the start of a new chapter in the human story, a story that becomes part of a much grander, cosmic narrative. The single confirmed fact that we are not alone would forever alter our perspective. It would recalibrate our understanding of ourselves, forcing us to see humanity not as the pinnacle of creation, but as one voice in a potentially vast and ancient cosmic choir. This new awareness would present humanity with its greatest challenge and its most magnificent opportunity. The discovery could act as a unifying force, a cosmic mirror reflecting our shared identity as Earthlings. However, the path forward would also be fraught with peril. The same discovery could just as easily amplify our worst tendencies: fear, suspicion, and tribalism. Ultimately, the story of alien contact is the story of humanity itself. Receiving a message from another civilization would be the ultimate test. It would hold up a mirror to our species and ask, "Are you ready?" It would be an adventure not just into the depths of space, but into the very heart of what it means to be human in a universe suddenly revealed to be more wonderful and mysterious than we ever dared to imagine.